Hello, my name is Alejandro Rodriguez Gonzalez, and I'm going to show how to develop a mashup, concretely a mashup that is a mix between Scribd and Slideshare using Eclipse. The original idea and all the code that we are going to use today was developed by Maria Andres Paredes Valverde, which is currently a PhD student at the University of Murcia. So we are going to start. First of all, we are going to close this and we are going to open Eclipse. Okay. Once we have Eclipse open, well, the idea of this example is to show how to create a mashup. But I have all the code already done because it's like, mm, I mean, it will take a lot of time to um, write each line of code. So the idea is that I'm going to create a new project and I'm going to import all the code that I have already done. As I said before, in fact, this code was developed by Maria Andres, and all the merits are for him. So, well, the idea is to import all the code and see how it's done. The importation, in fact, is like if we were creating a new project and we were using or doing the code from scratch. So there is no practical difference because we are creating a new project and not we are not importing an existing one. So where we are using in this video or in this version version of Eclipse. It's completely Eclipse the Kepler version. We can see here in about the current version. I have downloaded the basic Eclipse, and from install new software I have installed all the components that I need to develop web applications. So if you have some doubt, I think that you can find a lot of information in the web about how to install the Java Web Develop frameworks. But well, here in programming language, you can find a lot of information about the different ones that you need to install. For example, if I uncheck this box, you can see some of the packages that I have already installed. For example, here in web, well, we have all the packages and are marked. You can see, for example, Eclipse Java EE Developer Tools or Eclipse Java Web Developer Tools that are necessary to work with this kind of project because we are going to create a web application. Also, another thing that is necessary is to download Apache Tomcat server and install it. Well, in this case, if you don't have installed Apache Tomcat, you have to download it and just make a new install. It's quite easy, and install as if it was a normal software. It's independent of Eclipse. Once you have installed this server, you can add it at Eclipse here in Preference Server, and you go to Runtime Environments, and you can go to Add button, and you can select Apache Tomcat. If it didn't appear here in this new window, this Apache or DBoss or the other servers, you have to install some component that is called GST adapter that you can install from here. From Install New Software, again we select the Kepler site, and in this case we can write GST. Okay, we wait a little bit and we will see all the available components that are required in this case. About GST is these are the adapters that are that make more easy to install a new server, a new web server, and we have to select all of these. Remember, at least, well, these two are obligatory, the GST server adapters and the GST server adapter extensions. Once we have installed these extensions or this adapter, we are able to see all these options in the server runtime environment. Well, this is basically how to set up the IDE that we are going to use. So we are going to start with the real creation of the project. The first part, we are going to create a new project. So we go to File, New, and here we have dynamic web project. If it didn't appear here, you go to other, and in web part you select dynamic web project and click next. You are going to give a name. For example, we are going to create a mashup of Scribd and Slideshare, so we are going to name it Scribd Share, for example. The target runtime, it's like where you're going to deploy the server, the platform or the web page. So we have to select Apache Tomcat, that it's supposed that it was already installed. So we go to next, and finally we can go next or finish. We can directly click finish if we want. So once we click finish, we have this structure generated in the project explorer. We have basically the web content folder with the webinf and the lib folder. This is where we are going to store all the necessary libraries. In this example, is the most easy one, is the easier that we are going to introduce, so there is no additional libraries required, but it's interesting to know where is this folder. The other basic or interesting folders are these SRC, that is where we are going to introduce all the source code that we are going to generate. So assuming that we have all the information, or at least we know what we are going to do, we are going to, in the next steps, to just copy at the first step, just to copy the source code of the mashup. So we are going to the folder. In this case, I have here the source code. Okay, and I have a folder. Okay, this is the folder that I'm going to copy. So I select it, copy. I go to here, and directly I can paste. And okay, automatically we have three packages that are ito script, ito slideshare, and ito utils. Okay, and with several classes. But from the moment, I'm not going to go more in depth. Let me make several things before, and then I'm going to explain each class and what is done for. So with this, we have already copied all the source code that we are going to need. Okay, now we need additional files, like for example the content itself. Okay, in the content itself, if we go to web content, that we are going to copy all to web content, we have this. Okay, we have one folder that is the CSS, that is basically the cascade style sheet that we are going to use in our web page. In this case, it's a concrete CSS that was created by Mario. Okay, there is no need to make any change or anything on it. Okay, it's just to set the appearance of the web. The second folder is the GS folder, that is the JavaScript files folder. In this case, we have like two files. Okay, one is the jQuery JavaScript API, so it's available on the web, so there is no problem on that. And the other one is interesting because it's the one that it's going to allow us to call the different GSP files, or at least the different GSP files, and to merge everything on a single page. We are going to see the content of this file after we load everything. And finally, we have three GSP files that basically are the content of the web, or the web itself, and it has some Java code that allows to call all the data from Scribd and Slideshare and merge all together. So we are starting copying this, we copy, and we go to web content and we paste. Okay, once it's done, we see that everything loads before without any error. This is because we are not using any external API, so it's easy to run. So the first thing that we are going to do is just execute to see if everything is working properly. So we go to Slideshare, right click, we go to Run As, and we select Run on Server. We have this option, choose an existing server, this Tomcat that is already installed. So I click next. In this case, I have the available and configured projects. I only have one, the Slideshare, so I click finish and it starts. Okay, it opens a web browser over the Eclipse, and we can search any word that we want to see the information and see how are working both APIs, Scribd and Slideshare at the same time. So I'm going to introduce any topic, for example, I don't know, maybe tutorial that can be a very generic word that will provide several results. So I click go, and we see how are loading all the files and the time. We have all the information here. So we have all the results provided by a Scribd. In this case, it says that they are 191, and provides that by a Slideshare that are quite a lot. So we can click, for example, in any of these. I don't know, maybe here, a new window, okay. Well, it's better because it's, yeah, maybe here, before, it's better. Well, and we can open any results, okay, or I don't know, maybe copy. Well, this is a window open in the in the in the in the ID itself. So well, it seems that now okay, here we go. Okay, and we load okay the info in this part. Okay, suppose that in the Scribd also should be working, but now it seems something is not working properly. But anyway, the idea is of the Mashup is the search, the using the capability of searching between both APIs, okay, between using a Slideshare and Scribd. We can see in the console that we have some information here. We are going to go to see what is that in a few moments. Okay. Well, I'm going to stop the server, and I'm going to close. So now I'm going to explain all the files that we have involved and how are they doing what you can see or what have you seen that is the final mashup. Okay, I'm going to start with the Java files, okay, that we already load. We go to Java resources, and we have here the source packages, the different packages that were created by Maria Andres and with all the information. So, well, basically we have one class for each service that we are using. For example, one for Scribd and one for Slideshare. And we have another class that represents the document. It's an object that is created just to store the information of the different objects that are retrieved by the search in the different services. I mean, if I open document Scribd, basically it's very easy, the Java code. I'm not going to go more in depth with that because it's just a public class, a class that basically it's making an encapsulation of the document itself, okay, of the document retrieved by Scribd API. So we have several information like the title, description, the thumbnail URL, that is the URL of the image that we saw in the corner, in the left part of the web page, the document ID and the access key. Okay, these are several parameters that are retrieved by the source code that we are using, by the code that we are using. We have the same in Slideshare with the slideshow object. Okay, it retrieves several items like the ID, title, description, and the thumbnail URL. So these are the objects that encapsulate the different elements returned by the APIs. But the interesting thing is how are we able to query or to get this information. Okay, in the case of a Scribd, if we open the Java file, we have here all the information. The code, in fact, is quite simple, or at least, well, not quite simple, but it's not so hard to understand as it can be think. Okay, well, we have here a page that is completely the API of Scribd. Concretely, it's the API of the doc. In this web page, we can find the information about this method that we are going to use, that is doc search, and we allow us to retrieve the documents from Scribd platform. So, well, basically we have, as typical, some AP key that, for example, allow us to make or perform the search. This is the router URL that it's the basic URL that it's going to be queried. It's the URL that we are going to use as access to get the data. And well, the main method that it's in charge of make this search is this doc search. Okay, we have some other methods that are available here that basically it's just to get, for example, some parameters of the search, but the main method is this one. We have this main method also that allows us, for example, to test this doc search method. For example, this is a search performed over Scribd with the keyword Java as parameter 1 it's the number start, number of page, and the number of results per page. So, for example, or well, the maximum number of results. We can execute it. We can go here, run as Java application, and for example, we can see that we have here all the data, okay, that we have after perform the search, okay, with all the results. For example, here, okay, it's the first element, and then for each one we have the doc ID, access key, title, description, and thumbnail URL. Okay, the method itself that made the search is this one. As we can see here, we create a simple list of document scribe object type. We create a SURL that is the URL that is going to carry the Scribd platform with this class that it's called utilities. This utility class is here, okay, you can see here, and we have that basically we're going to use the add parameter method. The add parameter method basically it receives a first parameter that we can see here that it's a URL, then the name and the value. Basically it's creating some kind of let me show an example of this. Let me here we go. We have basically that the search itself, I mean this method is creating, in this case is creating a URL like this one. Okay, we have as basic URL the root URL, and then it's adding parameters like, for example, some kind of param equals value, okay, and that stuff. When we use Scribd on the platform, when we use it before, we can we saw that there was a URL in the console. I'm going to in the console. I'm going to execute it again to see it. Okay. It's just to see what type of URL it's generating. Okay. We're going to use Java again, for example. Okay, and here it is. Okay. We have, for example, that it's creating some kind of URL like this one. Okay. See here. Okay, this is for the Slideshare, but for Scribd is the same. In this case, we are only showing the Slideshare call, but in the case of Scribd is the same. Basically, we have some parameters that we are adding to the URL, and it's the call that we are going to make against the API. Okay. So as I said, well, basically this add parameter is basically adding more and more parameters to the URL. So creating a final URL with all the parameters that we need to have in order to carry the service. After that, basically we create a URL object with the string. We have to open a HTTP URL connection. Okay, basically with this we open the connection. It's very very easy. We check that the response code is okay, so we get parameters. After that, we have to generate a document builder factory in order to get all the information that we get as response. Okay, we're going to also create an import source and get some and use some parameters, like for example this get content from the connection. You have here the method that we can see. Okay, and basically the get content, we can see that it's basically to make available the connection, or to get the connection as all the data, okay, with UTF-8 chapset. And we are going basically to add all the information for of the buffer, or the connection into a string. So it's basically get all this information and add it as a string. After that, we create a result set, okay, with the information that we already get, and we use the result set parameter as tag name, and we get the first one. We get, with this information, we are able to get more data, like for example the total number of results that we are going to make it by the attribute total results available. And finally, this item list is the one that is going to provide all the results. I mean, all the list of results. So it's basically again to create the document and get all the elements by tag name. With this information, we are creating a node list object that it's basically a list of nodes. And with this information, it's possible to get all the elements returned by the service. So for each element, we create a document script object, that is this one, okay, and we get the element, okay, we store it in this aux element object, and after that we are going to retrieve all the parameters like doc ID, access key, title, description, and thumbnail URL by the access to these methods, and getting for each if its value all the information. Okay, so basically this is how we get all the data. Okay, and we add for to the list, to the docs list that we already create at the beginning. It's here. Okay, all the data. Remember that we sorry, we started this list here in this line, so we are going to add line by line. At the end, we have some information, like here, for example, to get the messages if something else happens, or something goes wrong, or some exception were thrown. And basically, we get all the information from here. This is information that we can find on Scribd API. Okay, in this web page, we can find how to query and how to retrieve this information. So it's just basically to put the examples provided by the API in Java code in Eclipse. In the case of Slideshare, we have the same. Okay, we have also here a main that we can execute as Java application and get information. For example, in this case, from a Slideshare, we get the IDs of the different elements that the carry return. So in this case, we have here again the search slideshows method that is similar to this search in Scribd. We are going to make the same. We have to create a list of slideshow objects. In this case, we need to create some additional data, like the date and the timestamp based on the date. Okay, we create the URL as we did before, okay, using utilities add parameter. And once we do that, again, we create the URL object, the HTTP URL connection, the document builder, and input source. We create all this information to get the data in UTF-8 dataset, or sorry, chapset, and we get the total results. For example, again with the similar, it's a very similar call. And here we have the node list. Okay, again to get, for example, all the results that were provided by the search. In this case, we create a slideshow object that is here. Okay, it's the same as we did with document scribe, and we get the title, we get the ID, okay, and we can get, for example, the description if it's available. If not, we are going to use a blank description, and the thumbnail, small URL, okay, and basically that's all. That's how we are going to do that. One thing that we should add as information, or I should mention, is that, for example, we have this get hash method that is basically to get the hash of a concrete string using SHA-1 method. So basically, it's, well, you see here that this just get the instance of SHA-1 with message digest class, and introduce all the data as bytes. This is basically because one of the parameters that are received by the Slideshare API is the hash of the AP secret key that we have here, and we add the timestamp data. If we want to get more information, we can go here to slideshare.net developers, that we can get all the information about the parameters that are necessary to carry this service. This is basically some requirements of the API. Okay, so the thing is that we have all the code that it's performing the search, and okay, we have like some Java code that we can create an application, a console application, or a desktop application that will allow us to get all the data. But the thing is, where are we going to introduce all of this data into a web application? So we are going to start explaining third part, that is the one regarding how are we going to introduce this information on the GSP, or on the web page itself, because now we have a lot of Java code that, okay, allow us to get some data, or to carry the services, the APIs, but we need to put it, or to introduce it on the web page, or on our web page itself. Well, to see the GSP code, we are going to go to the web content folder, and we have basically three files. The main one is the index GSP, that it's the one that is going to be open once we throw or we launch the web application. So we are going to open it and see the code. Basically, we have a typical HTML code with some tags that allow us to introduce this Java code in the code itself, in the HTML, or in the web page. We have some information here that is basically to get the page number string, because we are going to divide all the results. We are not going to show all the results in a single shot. Given that these APIs can return thousands or hundreds of thousands of results, we're going to divide 10 by 10, because we already saw that in our code we have a parameter that it was set to 10. It was to divide the information in several pages, that each page will contain a maximum of 10 elements. In this case, it's very interesting to see that we are importing in the JavaScript part here. Okay, we have this information. Okay, well, this is the CSS. Okay, but these two are the JavaScript, and we are importing or loading two JavaScript files. The first one is the jQuery, that it's basically the jQuery API, and we have this second one. It's called functions.js. That is the one that it's going to allow to load all the information and to perform the search itself. We will go later to explain this functions.js. And well, we have basically several divs to divide each part. It's the header, and we have, for example, this data with a list and several elements of the list. We have here to introduce the logo, all the information. And well, the interesting part here is completely about the search part. That is where we can introduce the text that we want to search and the button, okay, that is here. We have this input with the ID text keyword and the name keyword, and this button, okay, with the ID btn search. Okay, these are the two basic elements that are going to return us all the data that we want to search. I mean, it's where the keyword will be stored, and it's the button that will throw all the process of searching. And also we have here some other divs, okay, like the footer, and for example here we have an input also to introduce the page number in the case that we load the results that return more than one page. If we go to JS and we open the functions.js, we can see here the interesting part. And the interesting part is that when we click on btn search, that it's as I already said here, okay, we are going to perform this function. Basically, we are going to introduce in this variable that is called valor, the validated keyword value returned by this function, that basically it's going to get the value that it's called, that it's introducing text keyword, and if there is some error, it will add some HTML code to our current page in order to say that, okay, some error happens, so give a keyword, or special characters are not allowed. Anyway, any possible value, okay. If not, basically we are going to add the value of the text field to this variable, and okay, if it's false, something happens. It's just we are going to clean all the information, the results in Slideshare and the results in the script that, by the way, are here. We can see here that it's okay. Let me check where are these results. Maybe it's easier to just make a search. So where are they? Okay, we have here the ID, okay, of the div where all the results are going to be introduced, okay, of the Slideshare. We have another one for the script. So if we assume that everything goes okay, so we have the data. Basically, we are going to add the text page number to 1. So we assume that we are in the first page, and we are going to call these two methods. These methods that are here, okay, are more or less the same, and basically are calling the Slideshare DSP and the script DSP through a post call with these parameters, the keyword, okay, and the page number that we are on or we are in. It's the in this case, when we are in the first slot or in the first search, this page number will be 1. But if we are going to load more elements per page, for example, if you go to the second page, this value will be 2, 3, or whatever. So basically, we have some things here, like before saying, we are going to introduce some HTML, okay, in the Slideshare part. This HTML that we are introducing, as we can see here, make reference to an introduction of an image that is basically a GIF that will show like a wheel that is spinning through, spinning while the search is performed. So we are going to see this wheel in the meantime. So finally, when we get the data, we are going to introduce all the HTML returned by the GSP Slideshare GSP, and if some error happens, we are going to introduce some just connection problems. We have the same behavior in the script GSP page, so it's basically the same. So I'm not going to explain it with more detail. Okay, and we have some other functions that can be used and are here in the functions. Yes. But the interesting thing now is to see the script and GSP and Slideshare. I'm going to open a script, for example, and basically when we open or when we load the script GSP, basically we have here some code, some Java code that is going to be executed. The first thing that it's execute is the creation of a script object. This script object is this one, okay? It's this class that we already saw a few minutes ago. So we are going to create an instance of this script class. After that, we are going to create a list of document script, that is the items. We are going to get the keyword by the request get parameter keyword. So the keyword that we receive when the index when the JavaScript of functions.js call script GSP is here in keyword. We are going also to get the page number, and basically we are going to create or to call the method docsearch with this keyword, with this page number mathematical mathematical operation that is basically to get the results, the correct results, and this third parameter that is the maximum results that we want, that it's 10. So we have here that it's to control the pagination, so it's just to allow to introduce the number of rows or of pages. It's not very relevant because it's just to order the results. And finally, we have all the HTML code that is going to be returned once the GSP is called. And basically the GSP that we have here, the Java code, is just make a fork over the items. These items is these items here, that is the results returned by a script, and we are going to introduce all this information in several divs that we are going to introduce. For example, the image with the thumbnail, the description, or the doc ID, or several other information. For example, on click, we are going to go to see the web page and load it in the other divs that we have in the index. And here we have some button also to manage the web pages, or I mean the number of web pages that we have on our results. And well, finally, as we have the same basically in the SlideShare part. It's basically the same. We are going to create a SlideShare object, a list of slideshow items. We get the keyword, we get the page number, and we again make a shared slideshows call to this method. And again, in the HTML part, we have all the information that we are going to return to the index.jsp call and to add in the index.jsp. So basically, again, it's a for that will loop over the items and will introduce all the information using HTML. And well, basically, this is the explanation of this ScribeShare mashup that was created using Eclipse and without any additional API, a part of the ones included in the enterprise edition of Java. So the idea is that with this small code that we have basically here, it's the ones that we can use or allow us to get the results from the several services that we are using here, in this case Script and SlideShare, and we can put together all this information in a concrete GSP page, in a web page developed using Java Server Pages, and we have a mashup, a functional mashup that it allows us to search in two services at the same time and get the results and put it on the web page. So again, many thanks to Mario Andres for this material, because he's the developer of this. I'm only the one that is explaining what he did, but all the credits are for him. So this is the first video that I'm going to where I'm going to show how develop a mashup using Eclipse. In the next one, I'm going to provide another example that will be more or less the same, but it's a little bit more complex because we are going to use external APIs that are required to work with the Mashup. So many thanks, and I hope you enjoy it. Thank you.